Hello and welcome to section on how to chain method and properties. So let's do an example and understand how this concept works. So if you have the material folder, go to chaining methods and properties. Go to how to chain methods and properties. You can find after and before file. So open up the before file. Okay. We will use this bank example which we have seen previously. We have created this file previously to understand how to work with a bank object. And you see there are so many methods we are calling again and again. Okay, let's say you want to check a balance after the deposit has been done. You want to check balance after the deduction of an amount has been done. You can chain these methods. Okay, that's the concept we are learning it here. So we'll start from here and we'll modify this program. We'll understand how to chain the methods using the object. Okay, so use this bank file and then from the starting point, and we'll try to change this file. Okay, so I'll copy this file. I'll go back to OOP folder and then we'll create a folder called chain, and where I paste it here. Okay, so let's work on this file. So let's change this class and then we'll implement the chaining of the method. So before that, let's understand the concept, then we'll change this program. Okay, so for this I'll create a file called as chain methods.php. Okay, okay, I'm not matching my class name with the file name. That should be okay, because now we are just trying to understand the concept here. Okay, so let's say you have two methods, method 1 and 2. Okay, and you created an object of that class, and then you want to chain the methods. So when I say chain methods, you want to say method 1 and method 2. Okay, so let's complete these methods. So you can say echo statements here. Hello from method 1, echo from the method 2. Okay, so let's run this program and understand what is the behavior. Then we have to change something. I'll show you what need to be changed. Okay, and we'll run the program. We'll get an error. We'll understand why is this error. Okay, we'll understand very slowly. Okay, so this method is basically a method of a class, right? And when you want to call this method, how do you call a method? Okay, you call a method with an object, right? You call a method with an object, and when you're trying to chain it, let's say you're trying to chain it, this method should return the instance of a class. This method should return an instance of a class. How you can do this? You can do this via the return statement of this. So this method is returning the instance, and once the instance is returned, then you are actually executing it. Okay, so this will actually become the instance. This will become the instance of the class. Okay, and using this instance you are calling the second method. Okay, so when you want to chain the methods, make sure the left hand side methods actually returning the $this, and once you do that, then you are able to execute the chaining of the methods. Okay, so remember this concept. This is a very important concept. When you want to chain methods, you want to have like one complex code split into different methods, but you want to call them in a sequence. Maybe one part of the method is doing some core logic. Well, that method is not displaying the data or not returning any value, but it might be doing some complex core logic which you want to separate it out as a function, and you want to make sure it gets executed in the sequence. Okay, in those cases you basically define those methods and you return $this, and once you return $this, then this can be used as an instance to call another method. So you're actually chaining the method. So if you look at the execution, the first method gets executed from left to right. The first methods get executed, and then this will return $this. Okay, so $this will now execute the method 2. Well, it's important to understand when you want to chain the methods, you have to return $this. okay, because the methods can be executed only from an object. So you have to make sure your statements on the left hand side returns $this, so that the statements on the right hand side can get executed. Okay, let's enhance this program furthermore with properties. We can call it chain methods 2. This time I'll add a property, and in the method 1 we will change the property value. Okay, and in the method 2 we will print it. Okay, everything remains the same. Now you can see the method 1 is changing the class properties, the method 2 is printing those values. Okay, so this is a very good way where two methods actually work on same property. One method is basically manipulating, it's trying to put some business logic to change the value of a property. The other method is trying to display them. Okay, so this is basically a logical grouping of your code. Okay, and you want to have in a sequence, because just by printing the method without manipulating it, you will get something like an empty value, but you want to make sure you are chaining it. Okay, so chaining in logical grouping. So call this method first to change the value, but this value is not returning anything or not doing anything in terms of displaying or returning this value from this method. It's just trying to change the value of a property. Okay, then the second one, call this method to display the property value. Okay, and if you logically see this, these two methods work hand in hand, because the first method has to get executed to change the value. The second method basically displays that value. If you change the sequence, the whole purpose is gone. Okay, so the method first has to get executed first, then the method 2 has to be executed. Okay, you can always do this. Okay, there's no harm in it. Once you do this, stop returning this in this, right? But if you want to change the methods, if you want to write a simple code that's understand by everybody, and you are trying to tell something here to developer, this is a chain and must be called in sequence. Okay, because if you write like this, okay, and someone thought, oh, maybe this should come first, the whole logical flow of your program is gone, because nobody understood there's a sequence here. Okay, so if you want to maintain that sequence, you have to write in a chain. Okay, and this is a very good concept when you have a sequencing that you have to do in your programming. Okay, you want to execute the method first, and based on the execution of method first, you want to execute the method second. Okay, so when you have this kind of requirement, chaining is basically a very good concept and you can use it for your purpose. Okay, so let's go back to our bank and let's change this. Okay, so how do you chain these methods? Okay, which one come first, which one comes second? One key thing you can do is you can return this from all the methods. You can do return this here, return this here, you can even return this here. Okay, now you are free to change this code. Okay, and you can write a constructor here, okay, you can take this value, put it here, take this value, put it here. You can get rid of this code. Now you can deposit the amount and then you can check balance. Get rid of this, get rid of this, then you want to deduct the amount, you want to check the balance. Typically this is what we do in the ATM, right? When we deduct some amount, deposit some amount, we want to check the balance. Okay, now it looks really simple and easy to understand, because when you deposit and deduct or do any kind of bank transaction, the last thing that you want to do is you want to check the balance. Okay, so let's execute this code. Okay, it works fine. There's no issue in chaining the methods, but only thing you have to remember is you have to return this instance, because once you return this instance, you have the instance to call the next method in the class. Okay, and you can also chain the properties. You can even say this, because check balance return this, so this of the balance you can print it. Okay, you can even do this. You have to have the echo statement here. So what we can do is you can call an echo statement, and you can see 400 coming up from here. That's how you can chain the methods, and you can also access the property. But here you cannot call the method, okay, because this is not the instance, this is a property of a class. Okay, so you cannot call the method here. Okay, this will error out. Okay, so you have to understand how this chaining is working. It's working because those functions are returning the $this, and once you return, you have the instance, and using that instance you're calling the next function. So that's the example of how to chain methods and properties. Well, that's all the example on how to chain methods and properties, and I'll see you in the next one.